This is the no tax on overtime calculator. I will link to this calculator in the description. It's free and easy to use. I'll show you how to use it. Now keep in mind, this is addressing the no tax on overtime that was part of the One Big Beautiful bill. And basically some, but not all of overtime pay is tax deductible, and I'll explain. That's what this calculator is about. Because it's not as simple as saying that there's no tax on overtime. There's no tax on some overtime. Some overtime, there is tax on it. And how do you determine that? Well, you use this calculator. Again, link in the description. So we're going to put in how much overtime we're earning. I'll just make up a number here. Let's put in 15,000. Let's say in 2025, I have 15,000 in overtime income. How much is my other pay, my non-overtime, plus overtime? So your total pay, including overtime. So let's say we have 70 grand income, and that includes the 15,000 of overtime. Okay. Well, by default, our filing status is single, and that makes a difference. And here's why. Right now, my overtime deduction is $12,500. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to itemize. You can take the standard deduction and still get a $12,500 overtime deduction in addition to the standard deduction. That's a big deal. So remember, you don't have to itemize. Now, you'll see that this number here, my deduction's less than the 15,000 overtime. Well, that's because there's a limit depending on your filing status and also your total income. The amount of overtime you can write off or deduct is limited to $12,500. And let's see what happens if we change it to our filing status to married. Let's say we're filing married and we file with our spouse. Well, this now up to 15,000. Why is that? Because there's a higher limit. So let's say I'm married and I have 30,000 overtime. You see now there's 25,000. That's because the limit is 12,500 for single, 25,000 for married. And that is a deduction you can take. Now there's one more factor to consider, and that is your total income. Because let's say I'm single and I make 200,000, all right, and I have 30,000 overtime income. You'll see zero here. Why? Because there's a phase out. If you make 150,000 or more, or once you hit $150,000 in total income as a single person, your overtime deduction starts to phase out and go away. And that begins at 150,000. If you are married, filing jointly, it's 300,000. So if you're making $280,000, you're still fine. If you're filing as married, you still have your deduction. Once you cross over 300,000, that's the threshold in which the deduction phases out. So you can play around with this calculator yourself. I'll put a link in the description, and I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching.